Namaste and welcome to Tridevi Chamunda Mandir in Denver, Colorado. This is Yamajit. Thank you so very much for joining me tonight for Tuesday Puja and Satsang. Tonight is part 59 of our series, Kali for Everyone. And this is really going to be, in many ways, an interpretation of this piece of artwork that you see on your screen. This will be a Puja and a Satsang to White Kali, one of the lesser known forms of Ma Kali. And before we begin, let's just take a look at this painting. It's an old tantric painting. It's in the Rajasthani or North Indian style, but we see Kali looking pretty much the way Kali, you expect Kali to look, only her skin is white. And she is standing upon Lord Shiva, whose skin is black. Usually it's the other way around, dark-skinned Kali, light-skinned Shiva. They're on a cremation ground, in fact, actually in the middle of a cremation fire, and they are surrounded by jackals who are acting as scavengers, along with a pair of vultures, and then one solitary crow in the tree. Before we go much further, I'd like to begin with a couple of announcements. So I'm going to be continuing our series on the 64 yoginis. We've gone through all 64 forms of the Divine Mother. So I'm going to honor also the other deities who are depicted artistically in the 64 yogini, that is the Chasati Yogini temple in Hirapur in the state of Orissa in India. And so we're going to honor the male deity who is honored at this temple, Lord Bhairab, the wrathful Shiva. And as we honor Bhairab, we also have to honor Bhairavi, his Shakti. That's going to follow with a 9-part kind of series within the series, where we're going to honor 9 forms of Durga, whose images are on the outside of that circular temple. So again, welcome and namaste. Anybody who is tuning in right now, please feel free to say hello using the chat function on the bottom of your screen. So, White Kali is a relatively uncommon form of the Hindu goddess Kali. Unlike the familiar black or deep blue variations, White Kali appears in some tantric and regional traditions, where the color white carries symbolic meaning rather than representing a separate goddess. Very similar deity is Sveta Kali, who we've done several programs on. One of the forms of Kali in Kathmandu. This is Sveta Kali, and she's actually one of my favorite forms of the Divine Mother. But I wanted to spend some time honoring the Indian variation of White Kali. So some interpretations for White Kali include purity and transcendence. White often symbolizes purity, clarity, and a state beyond dualities of life and death. White Kali can represent consciousness that has moved beyond worldly limitations. Some look upon White Kali as a peaceful aspect of Kali, while the more familiar dark Kali is associated with fierce transformation and destruction of the ego. White Kali may emphasize the stillness and serenity that follows transformation rather than the transformative process itself. Some associate White Kali with compassion and grace. In some esoteric traditions, White Kali embodies the compassionate, nurturing dimension of the Divine Mother while retaining the power to remove ignorance. She still bears a sword. She still holds the head of a demon, and she still displays the mudras of displaying fear and giving boons. And then there's some specific tantric symbolism Certain tantric texts and lineages describe deities in multiple colors, each expressing a different spiritual quality or meditative focus. White is commonly associated with sattva guna, purity, harmony, and illumination. But going deeper into her tantric meaning, she also represents transcending fear of death. White is the color of mourning in many Asian countries, the color of bone and of the ash generated in the cremation grounds. So this can also relate to liberation or moksha. White is associated with release from the cycle of birth and death, making white Kali a symbol of ultimate spiritual freedom. White Kali may retain many of Kali's traditional features: white, luminous skin instead of black and blue, but still a garland of skulls or severed heads, symbolizing transcendence over ego and ignorance. This particular depiction of Kali, she has a necklace of 50 severed heads, and that can all freshly cut heads, and that can be associated with fresh ideas. She's a four-armed goddess, so we see forms of white Kali with four or more arms holding symbolic objects such as the sword and the severed head, which I mentioned, and other hands offering blessings, fearlessness, or boons. And then standing upon Shiva, symbolizing the dynamic power Shakti united with pure consciousness. Also, it might be hard to see because of our lighting, but the Shiva in this painting has an erect lingam, and I'll be saying more about that. He's also holding a conch and a club and also a sword like Kali. And then also what appears to be a kapala or a skull cup. The conch is associated with purity, with cleansing, the skull cup with transcending consciousness, the same ego removing sword as Kali, and the club or mace for smashing ignorance. White Kali is much less common than the traditional dark form of Kali. Most temples, festivals, and devotional practices focus on the black or blue form. White Kali is more often encountered in more specialized tantric traditions, meditational practices, or symbolic artwork than in mainstream worship. Where dark Kali often represents the infinite, the unknowable reality, the disillusion of ego, and transformative power, white Kali can represent the luminous awareness, peace, and liberated state that emerges once again after transformation. The goal of this work. In many Hindu traditions, these are viewed as complementary expressions of the same divine reality rather than different deities or opposing roles. Different lineages may interpret white Kali differently, so there is no single universally accepted description. So, our depiction of white Kali standing upon black Shiva is an uncommon but meaningful reversal of more familiar images of dark Kali standing on an ash white Shiva. So, some possible symbolic meanings could include consciousness and energy remaining inseparable. In traditional Hindu philosophy, Shiva represents pure consciousness, something known as Purusha, while Kali represents dynamic power and energy, or Shakti. These colors can change without altering this underlying relationship. Shakti remains an active force, and Shiva remains silent. The, and the ground that supports that energy. White Kali can also represent awakened awareness, purity, or liberation, while black Shiva can symbolize the unmanifest, infinite mystery from which everything arises. Think of the darkness of the soil from which everything arises and to which everything returns. Together, they suggest enlightenment emerging from the boundless absolute. They can be seen as complementary opposites, thus. The inversion of colors emphasizes that apparent opposites, light and dark, stillness and movement, form and emptiness, dynamic and receptive, are interdependent rather than contradictory. Some tantric traditions intentionally reverse or reinterpret conventional imagery to express that ultimate reality transcends fixed categories. A color inversion can therefore point to the idea that divine forms are symbolic rather than literal. Which brings us really to two very important concepts. One I've already mentioned a little bit within Hindu philosophy and really Hindu applied psychology. One is Purusha. Purusha is pure consciousness, or the witness or the witnessing of self. It's considered eternal, attractive, and separate from the material world. One way of looking at Purusha, and this is one of my favorite ways of looking at it, is the laws governing the universe. Traditionally, Purusha is seen as masculine. It's associated with Shiva and the dynamic force. And then the seemingly opposite, but also necessary force is Prakriti. And Prakriti is primordial nature or material reality. It's the source of the mind, senses, body, and the physical universe. And the way I like to look at Prakriti is it's matter and energy under the influences of those same laws personified in Purusha. So traditionally, in most branches of Hinduism, Prakriti is seen as feminine, related to Shakti, and the more receptive of the two of this polar force. In Shakta, however, goddess-centered Tantra, these roles are generally reversed. And that's why we see Kali in a very active role upon Shiva. And this is also likely the meaning of this reversal of colors that we have in this picture. Years ago, this would have been 1988, 1989, when I was writing my master's thesis. I actually put in my master's thesis that it made sense to me that the laws governing the universe were really needed to be associated with feminine divinity, and matter and energy under the influence of those laws. Bigger skin over his nether regions, but we see a cobra curved around his neck and standing erect, symbolizing the same idea. Kali standing upon Shiva. This expresses the relationship between Shakti as a dynamic power and Shiva as receptive or pure consciousness. Without Shakti, Shiva is still and inactive. Without Shiva, Shakti has no stable ground. Their union symbolizes the inseparability of consciousness and energy. And something I've always said about the image of Kali on Shiva is that we are essentially Shiva. We are essentially dead until we allow ourselves to be touched by that divine presence, and we become enlivened when that happens. The fact that this is taking place on a shmashana or cremation ground, one of Kali's most important settings, it symbolizes impermanence, the dissolution of ego. and the place where worldly identities come to an end. For tantric practitioners, it represents confronting mortality and transcending fear. So if we can meditate upon death, really death is the primary fear from which all our other fears stem from. So if we can come to terms with death, those other fears just fall away. To quote William S. Burroughs, "When I become death, I become the stuff from which I grow." The jackals that we see at the bottom of the painting, they're often associated with Kali, also the wrathful form of Shiva, Lord Bhairab, who we're going to be honoring on Friday. Sometimes Bhairab and Bhairavi are shown with black dogs. But jackals are scavengers of the cremation ground, and symbolically they represent time, death, and the consumption of what is completed in its life. They also signify Kali's untamed and wild nature. Vultures, like jackals, vultures are creatures of the cremation ground. They symbolize the stripping away of the physical body and ego attachments as well. And also, they serve as a reminder that the soul or consciousness is distinct from the body. And then the crow is also a carrion bird, likewise a cremation ground scavenger. And in Hindu symbolism, crows are often connected with our ancestors and with messages between the worlds. They're divine messengers. And in the cremation ground, a crow can represent remembrance of the dead, continuity between life and death, and spiritual insight born by confronting and meditating upon and ultimately accepting mortality. In Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of the dying process, we begin with denial and we end with acceptance. Taken together, the image points toward a central tantric theme: life, death, creation, destruction, and liberation are all aspects of the same ultimate reality. The erect lingam amongst a cremation ground can be understood as a paradoxical statement that creative, immortal consciousness persists even in the midst of death and disillusion. So if the artist is unknown, this is a print of the original painting. If the artist intentionally depicted white Kali and black Shiva, that inversion may also further emphasize that enlightenment, symbolized by the white color, arises from unmanifest infinite mystery, symbolized by the black color, or that conventional associations of light and dark are transcended in the divine. One is not better than the other, one is not good, one is not bad. They are all part of the same great reality. So there's no universal single white Kali mantra in mainstream Hindu practice. So tonight we're going to use Kali's bij or seed mantra, KRIM. This seed syllable is considered the essential vibration of Kali, really Kali in all of her forms, and is used in many Kali practices, and we will use it as our meditational mantra. And then for our puja mantra, Om Krim Kalike Svaha. We've used Om Krim Kalike Namah, but that final syllable, Svaha, is associated with fire offerings, and cremations are a type of fire offering. When one is cremated, Their physical body is being given as an offering, and one final offering to the divine. So let's begin our puja. Jai Ma Kali. Jai Ma Kali. Jai Ma Kali. Victory to White Kali. Sveta Kali, to use her Nepali or Nawar variation of her name, which also means White Kali. So I invite you to take a comfortable seated position. Find a position where your back can be straight, and you can meditate upon our painting with a relaxed gaze. And let's begin by breathing deeply. Breathing away the tensions, the cares, and the concerns of the day. The thoughts of things that have happened, the thoughts of things that need to happen, just let those fall away as you breathe out. And breathe in relaxation, breathe in peacefulness, breathe in a feeling of safety, feeling safe even if we are meditating on the scariest, what many people would find the scariest of places and scenarios. Just accept that we are witnessing that great cycle. And we are safe in doing so. And focusing our breath and our attention to our heart center, and taking a moment to connect with that divine presence within ourselves, knowing that presence is always there, teaching us, healing us, guiding us. And take a moment and think of some aspect of your life that is ready for healing, ready for transformation, or something that you're in need of some insight or some assistance from the divine. And silently declare and focus the energies of this practice upon receiving that healing or that resolution or receiving that knowledge that you need. And of course, you can also be thinking of someone else close to you as well. And if you have your puja set handy, be ready to join me in making offerings to this form of the Divine Mother. And bringing the palms of your hands together at your heart center, let's begin our practice tonight by chanting the syllable KRIM 3 times. Inhale. Taking in a second deep inhalation. Third deep inhalation. And I invite you in joining me in the mantra Om KRIM Kalake Spaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Taking a spoonful of water, cleansing your hands. Om Krim Galike Svaha. With your right hand, anointing your third eye and your heart center. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Taking another spoonful of water, cleansing your altar. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Placing some perfume oil on your middle or ring finger and anointing your devotional images. Om Krim Galike Svaha. And if you have a Kali on Shiva, don't forget Lord Shiva. Om Krim Galike Svaha. We can also remember their helpers. Om Krim Galike Svaha. And then also anoint your third eye center. Om Krim Galike Svaha. With your right hand, taking the food offering, offering the food. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Lighting the candle, offering the flame. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Lighting the incense and offering the incense. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Offering a little water to cool the atmosphere. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. And then making a floral offering. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Om Krim Galike Svaha. Bringing the palms of your hands together and bowing. Om Krim Galike Svaha. And then let's switch to our meditational mantra, the symbol KRIM. 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 KRIM, 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 KRIM. Jai Ma Kali. Jai Ma Kali. Jai Ma Kali. Feel the energies of the mantra. Breathe them in. Make them a part of you. And feel them working towards your needs, towards your intentions, and toward the needs of those closest to you. And I invite you to prepare for our guided meditation. Allow yourself to settle into a comfortable posture, whether seated on the floor or in a chair. Let your spine rise naturally, as though you're suspended between earth and the sky. Rest your hands wherever they feel at ease, and gently close your eyes. And notice your breath without changing it. Just feel the air entering your body and feel it leaving again. And know that there is nowhere to go, nothing to accomplish, nothing to become. For these moments just simply arrive. And bring your awareness to the weight of your body and feel the places where you are supported. Allow your jaw to soften. Relax your shoulders. Feel them slowly drop away from your ears. Relax your shoulders. Release your abdomen. Let your breath become quiet. And imagine each exhalation carrying away unnecessary effort. Each inhalation fills you with clear, spacious awareness. And I invite you to imagine that you are walking beneath a sky without beginning or end. It is night. Not a threatening darkness, but a living darkness. A darkness filled with immeasurable possibility. The stars shimmer like countless points of awareness spread across infinity. You walk slowly toward a sacred cremation ground and feel the earth there is ancient. The air carries the scent of wood, of ash, and rain. And there is complete stillness. Nothing here is hidden. Nothing pretends to last forever. This is the place where all masks are laid down. Every title, every possession, every fear of loss, everything that once again seemed permanent has become part of the earth again. And you realize that this place is not about death alone. It is about truth. Around the edges of the cremation ground move silent companions. Jackals walk without fear. They know that nature wastes nothing. Everything returns. Everything transforms. Above, vultures circle effortlessly. They remind you that even what appears to end becomes nourishment for new life. And a solitary crow watches from the branch of an old tree. Its dark eyes seem filled with timeless wisdom. It neither judges nor comforts. It just simply witnesses. Just allow yourself to feel their presence, not as omens, but as teachers. Teachers of impermanence, teachers of acceptance, teachers of freedom. And at the center of this sacred ground lies Lord Shiva. His body is dark as the limitless cosmos, darker than the night around you. He is the silence beneath every sound, the stillness beneath every movement, the awareness beneath every thought. Nothing disturbs him. Nothing diminishes him. Nothing needs to be added. He just simply is. So rest your attention upon this profound stillness and allow your own mind to become quieter, not by force, but simply by resting. And now a gentle radiance begins to appear. At first it is like moonlight, then brighter, yet never harsh. And before you stands white Kali. Her body shines with a pure white brilliance. She is luminous without casting a shadow. She is fierce without anger, powerful without violence, compassionate without sentimentality. And she stands upon Lord Shiva, not to dominate him, not to conquer him. She stands because energy rests upon consciousness. Movement rests upon stillness. Creation rests upon the infinite. The white brilliance of Kali and the dark stillness of Shiva are one reality, appearing in two ways. Notice Shiva's upright lingam. Receive it as a sacred symbol. It is not desire. It is not grasping. It is the eternal power of creation that never fades. Even surrounded by ashes, even surrounded by endings, life remains. Awareness remains. The creative force of the universe remains. Within yourself, recognize that same indestructible spark. Nothing essential about you has ever been destroyed. White Kali now looks directly into your eyes. Her gaze is unwavering. She sees every fear, every hope, every memory, every wound. Yet nothing in her expression suggests rejection. She already knows everything, and she remains present. Just feel yourself seen completely, without hiding, without performing, without explanation. White Kali slowly raises one hand, and in silence, she invites you to offer what you no longer wish to carry, what you are ready to let go of. Perhaps it is fear, perhaps it is guilt, or resentment, or the need to control every outcome. Maybe an old identity that no longer fits who you are becoming. Just see it resting in your hands, in whatever form it takes. And then you offer it to White Kali. And watch as it dissolves into radiant white light. Nothing is destroyed. Everything is transformed. And so now I invite you to breathe slowly. With each inhalation, silently repeat KRIM. Allow the sound to arise only within your awareness. And with each exhalation, allow the vibration to dissolve into silence. Again, inhale, KRIM. Exhale, silence. Again, inhaling, KRIM. Exhaling, silence. Inhaling, KRIM. Exhaling, silence. And again, each repetition feels like something you create and something you discover. As though the mantra has always existed beneath your thoughts. Continue for the next few breaths. And now I invite you to imagine White Kali is placing her hand upon the crown of your head. And as you breathe, a cool white light begins to flow downward. It enters your crown, into your forehead, to your throat, to your heart, to your solar plexus, your abdomen, your pelvis, your legs, your feet. Every place touched by fear begins to soften. Every place holding unnecessary tension begins to release. The light asks for nothing. It just simply illuminates. And at the same time, you begin to feel a vast dark stillness rising upward from Shiva beneath you. It is deep blue black. It is infinite. It is silent. It is steady. It rises through your feet, through your legs, your hips, your abdomen, through your body, into your heart, into your mind. And it carries absolute peace. White radiance descends, dark stillness rises, and they meet within your heart. Neither overcomes the other. Instead, they become one. Radiance and mystery, movement and rest, compassion and wisdom, life and death, all embraced with a single awareness. So just remain here. There's nothing to visualize now, only experience. If thoughts arise, let them come. If emotions arise, let them move. Like jackals crossing the cremation ground, like vultures circling overhead, like the crow watching without interference. Everything belongs. Nothing needs to be pushed away. Just simply return to the breath. Return to awareness. And return to the quiet repetition. KRIM. 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 And now White Kali smiles gently, not because suffering never existed, but because freedom has never been absent. She offers her blessing. May you meet change without fear. May you recognize awareness that cannot perish. May wisdom arise from every ending. May compassion guide every beginning. May your heart remain open to the mystery that holds all things. And just allow these words to settle naturally. So I invite you now to take a deep and clearing breath. and the cremation ground begins to fade. The jackals disappear into the night. The vultures glide beyond the horizon. The crow takes flight. White Kali becomes radiant light. Shiva becomes infinite space. And you realize they've not left. They are present within your own awareness. So take another deep and clearing breath and feel the surface beneath you. Notice the sounds around you. Begin to slowly and gently move your fingers, move your toes, and slowly bring the palms of your hands together at your heart center. And carry with you the stillness of Shiva. Carry with you the luminous clarity of White Kali. And remember that beneath every ending and every beginning, awareness always remains. So with your hands together and your eyes closed, take a moment to give gratitude to that divine presence within yourself. Accepting its guidance, its wisdom, and its healing. And take a moment to give gratitude to yourself for taking part in this practice this evening, knowing you can replay the recording of this meditation again whenever you have need, and you're always welcome to play it for someone else as well. And slowly opening your eyes. Namaste. Blessings always. Thank you so very much for joining me tonight. And Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. And thank you. So I hope you enjoyed our practice this evening. As always, please take some time for some quiet contemplation before resuming the day or the evening's activities. I'd like to thank all of you joining live this evening, including Zigzag and Jamie. And I'd also like to thank anyone who'll be watching the recording in the future. And I look forward to you joining me Friday, 7 p.m., when we'll honor Lord Bhairab, the wrathful Shiva, and his Shakti, Bhairavi. Also wise teachers of the cremation ground. Till then, have a wonderful night, have a wonderful couple of days ahead. Jai Mata Di. Jai Mata Di. Jai Mata Di. Thank you so very much. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Have a wonderful night. Namaste.